Good afternoon, YouTubers. My name is Brian, and I'm here today to show you something that is very important, something that we all have to deal with. And the better we do at it, the better our lives can be, and that is how to walk. And in order to learn how to walk, I had to learn how to use, how to run to learn how to walk. It's kind of backwards, crawl, walk, run. But I had plantar fasciitis, like real bad, as far as even our supports weren't working. And one day, we're walking for our walk around the block, and so I leave the house, and I can barely walk. I take one step, and the wife's like, maybe you should go barefooted. And I'm like, obviously I can't do that. I thought about somebody who had reconstructive ankle surgery, and the way they had to learn how to walk all over again was by going barefooted. So the idea of walking all over differently hit my head, and I thought about all these different things, and they came together in one step. I changed the way I walked, and it's been so different now. There's no more arch supports or any shoe. And what it was is, I remember when it happened. The day it happened, I destroyed or I should say injured my arch severely. It was an aerosol school, 20 years ago, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, on about mile 6 of a 12-mile road march. I was running, and I was like, maybe if I just let my feet go, this would make it even easier. I've been running the whole time and I was like, well, I was just looking for an easier way. So I started letting my feet just pound, wearing these worn out jungle boots, which are probably the worst things to use the least amount of cushion, but just let my feet slam, heel, toe, slam, and a couple miles later I could barely walk. And it was tough finishing that road march. But ever since then, I've been plagued with, flare-ups, and the faster I walk, the longer my stride is, the worse it would get, because I'm doing more heel pounding. So what I realized was, try to get this video, make it short. And I have to tell you a little bit of backstory. We don't repeat the same stuff that I did. So the things that come across my mind is, I had a friend who was one of the best runners in high school, probably number 1, number 2 best runner in high school. I ran with him one time, and he told me about running. Okay, so that helped a lot. All right, now you're back to the walking part, and the running part with the Army. Before I get to that part, so the Army, went to this master fitness school, which was amazing. I had a few years left, so I felt like it was a real blessing to be able to go to that. And you really shouldn't have sent me to it, but I had the highest fitness score in the company, so I gotta go. So the Army said, and there's been hundreds of millions of dollars investing in the PRT program, which I think is awesome. But the running part we're talking about is that your toe should always point forward. Your mechanics, your body mechanics are very important. So you walk or run, whatever, your toe should be pointing straight forward. So I'm trying to do that, and it's not really easy, and all these different exercises and stuff that we do, they are going around making sure we've got our toes pointing forward, keep our feet parallel to each other, no toes going out. Most people don't have a problem with toes going in. That's very few. They said that that's a underdeveloped muscle, and that's why your toe points out. All right, so you just have to force it in, and that'll strengthen the muscle. I'm sure there's some additional stuff you can do, but just making them point forward does fix the problem. After a few weeks, I'm like, whoa, weird. What do you think about my toes going straight forward instead of out a little bit? So, anyway, so your toes need to be pointing forward. So I'm like, that's just kind of weird to make myself do that. But so then I had to take, in addition to that, and when you run, the way you're supposed to run is your foot lands midfoot or toe. So midfoot or toe, and then push off and go. And you're leaning forward. You're falling forward. I give us an example of running with you pounding your heels in place. You know, who runs on their heels? Nobody, right? So they said, now run your toes. You run your toes, and as you lean forward, you start falling, and that's how you're supposed to run. Okay, which is like 25% of people run on their toes, midfoot to toe, and they're like the fastest people in the world. My friend from high school, he ran on his heels. So I put that and that together, and I came up with how to walk, which sounds silly because we all walk, but are we really doing it the right way? So what I did was I took what he said. He had a little bit of a judo background, and so he knew about, you know, letting your energy, you know, pass among your whole body to help fall, not hurt you as much, because you let all the energy smack the ground with your arms as best you can, as much surface area as you can to precipitate that energy, so you're not going to be injured as much, if at all. So he says when you run, you go toe, outside the foot, push off, heel, outside the foot, push off the toe. Okay? And so now the Army says don't do that. So it's like so weird. But he said your feet should be as quiet as they can be. The quieter your feet are, the less energy you're losing. He's saying your energy should be going forward, not down. So slamming's down, forward. I forgot that in air assault school, you know, some years later, 5 years later probably. Then when he told me that my junior year or whatever in high school. So, and that was a lot of slamming. When I did that in air assault school, it was a lot. It was very loud. I should have known better. So anyway, so I took his, you know, being soft, placing your feet down, being soft outside the foot, off toe. And I thought, well, what if I keep my toe straight, like the Army says, and do the outside the foot, like he says, and so and then the midfoot. So I started doing that. I started working on just getting the outside of my foot down, you know. And when I did that, eventually it took me off of my heel and it put me about midfoot. So now I walk midfoot, outside of the foot. And the outside of the foot, you can lower it. It extends down when you have it up. You know, you turn on the side a little bit, it comes down, and then you can softly take the weight off. So it makes a lot of sense, because your heel, you really think about it, your heel should never hit the ground first, because it's a solid structure, and all your weight is going to stop all of a sudden. Like, you know, the heel doesn't make any sense, right? But I think Nike came out with the first really cushioned heel, and when we did that, then we could run however and not have to worry about anything. So that big old cushion forgave our heel hitting first, but that's fine, I guess, running. But if you do that with everything else, with working, you know, walking, whatever, then you're probably gonna have some issues. That's exactly where I was. So now, outside of the foot, and then off the toe. Really not off the toe, off the balls of the feet. And off the toe would be running. So, you know, from walking, you're going off the balls of the feet. And then from running, you're pushing off the toes. And I've talked to several people. I know there's one woman who was 6'3", and blonde-haired, green-eyed. She was a Apache pilot. And she ran in the 12s for the 2-mile run in the Army. And that was pretty amazing. I asked her how she did it, and she talked about keep her elbows back, you know, so you don't cross over your front, you know, squish your lung. Elbows back, push off off your toe, throw your knee up into your chest, which sounds, you know, like she's using the hamstring, which is what you're supposed to do. Your hamstring and your calf is how you're supposed to run, not the hip flexor and calf or whatever when you're running on your heel. You can change the way you run altogether. So the way that looks, we're going to go over now. Alright, so at first, I made a point to walking outside my foot, and it was easy to make a point of it because I was in such pain that if I did one little step wrong, it was pins and needles across my arch. So just, and then after a while, I didn't have to think about it. It just worked out fine. It took me about 2 weeks. So since I was in pain, I had that constant reminder for anybody else who isn't feeling that pain, you know, that's going to be an issue. Now, this is going to help with everything. You know, walking correctly, leaning forward, to use the calf muscle more. I boxed for years. You know, that's boxers. You gotta stay on your toes. You should slide a piece of paper under your heel at any given time. You should never have weight under your heels. So running correctly is only going to help with things like boxing. It's going to help with anything with agility, because you get to be able to move very quickly, and you don't want to be on your heels when you're doing that. So I see this being helpful for everything that you can think of. So once again, just give it a shot. If you're plantar fasciitis, you'll appreciate it. I don't even lean forward. I've tried leaning forward before. Now I just focus on getting that outside of the foot down first, and it just takes care of itself. If you like this video, there'll be another one that follows as far as meniscus. I had a meniscus surgery about almost 2 years ago, a year and a half, and it just finally got to where it was fine. But the reason I had it is pretty interesting, and I think it's the reason why a lot of people end up with meniscus issues. I've had people tell me that, like a veterinarian said, everybody's getting meniscus surgeries, and I think I found the reason for it. At least, you know, one of the main reasons why people are having this issue. You know, it really does make sense to me. And you can check out that video for yourself and see what you come up with. Thanks. Have a nice day.